Welcome back to another episode of Potty Magic. Now, the episode today, I'm pinching myself that I've got to be perfectly honest, because if there was a list of people that I'd be going, gee, I'd love to get them on a podcast, sort of top three would be probably Michael Jordan would be up there. That'd be pretty cool. Ed Sheeran would also be pretty cool. I love Ed Sheeran. And number three, I've got him sitting next to me. He's the three-time NBL MVP, a three-time championship player with the Perth Wildcats, the current leading scorer for the NBL for the season just gone. Please welcome Bryce Cotton. Oh my God, Bryce.
Yeah, that's some elite company you got me in, so I'm pretty humbled to be in.
That is no word of a lie. I literally put a list of people that I was like, I would love to chat to him on a podcast. You were there. So I'm going to try to fangirl not too hard this entire time, but I can't promise it's going to happen for the whole time. So
No worries, man.
Hey, how's everything been? How's the off season?
Yeah, it's been good. Had a little bit of downtime, gave my body a bit of a rest, but
Nice.
now I'm slowly getting back into the workout and grind of things, and just trying to stay busy with some off the court stuff as well. So
Beautiful.
pretty good.
That's good, man. And you're heading over back home for a few weeks as well in 2 weeks' time, did you say?
Yeah. So I'll head out to Tucson for a little bit, get to see the fam, and it'll be cool. Like last year was the first time I went in 3 years.
Yep.
So it almost kind of feels weird going back so quickly. Like it feels like I was just there.
Yep.
Because I was used to those long stints. So
Of course.
everybody would be hyped.
Nice, man. Well, I thought just to get the ball rolling, get us talking and everything, we'll just get some layups in, just quick little questions, just answer them, go into as much as you like. So first one, who was your favorite player growing up?
Kobe.
Kobe. Nice. In any league that you've ever played in, who is the hardest person that you've had to match up against? In any league, college, high school, NBA, NBL.
I'm gonna go CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you play him?
When he was at Portland, I was at Utah.
Yeah, huge. And did you win the game?
We actually did win that game. Well, one of them we won, the other one we lost. But yeah, both times, like his ability to have a counter move for any time you cut him off, it's ridiculous. So he's got one of the craziest skill sets I've seen offensively.
Yeah,
in today's game, or at least that I've played against.
Unreal. And best teammate that you've ever had? There's got to be some people that are offended by this.
There's got to be some. Well, let me give a shout out to Damo. I've always told him, he's the best, one of the best leaders I've ever played for. It always pisses him off when I say one of the best. So I'll keep it at that. And then probably my teammate, for leaders, I guess, this guy named DJ Stennis. I don't know if anybody would know him, but he was my high school teammate back when I lived in Vegas.
Yep.
And he was a guy like so gifted at the point guard position, and he might score 2 points the whole game, but everybody's wondering like, who's that guy on the floor? Like that's how much control he had of the game.
Doing all the hard work.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think Damo's supposed to be coming and watching this podcast in about half an hour or something. So I think he's going to be pissed. Somebody else got him now. I have to let him know. But
I'll put DJ ahead of him just to piss him off.
And if there was one highlight out of your whole career, there's so many highlights.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one that you could go back and just relive, which one would it be?
Oh, man. I would say either when we won the Big East Championship or signing to the Jazz. Either one of those two. Those are probably the top.
Those are up there, yeah. You're sick. We'll get into all of that later because I can't wait to let everybody hear all that story, which is just amazing. And who's the highest profile player that you've drained a three on? There's got to be a list. There's got to be a Bryce Cotton hit list. That's
the highest profile player, man. I have no idea. I've scored against some pretty good players. I would say the one where in my mind I was like kind of hyped inside, even though I kept a poker face. We was playing the Warriors. Fun fact, they actually got their 73rd win of the season on us.
Yes.
But I was matched up because I got into the game super late.
And who were you playing for at this point?
The Grizzlies.
Yep.
So Andre Iguodala was guarding me, and that was like a big deal for me because growing up, I'm from Tucson, Arizona. Iggy went to U of A. And if you're from Tucson, everybody knows like you're a diehard Wildcats fan.
Yeah.
And they were like the equivalent of what Kentucky was basically when I was growing up. So to be matched up against him, and I used to watch him as a kid when he was in college and get a bucket on him. I was like, oh,
pretty cool. Yeah, pretty sick. That is awesome. And last one for these ones. Have you ever reached out to Gerard Randall to see how his ankles are after you absolutely snapped him in RAC Arena, or you haven't bothered to message him? His poor ankles.
Man, me and Jerome were actually pretty cool. And, you know, it's funny, man. It's funny how basketball works, because my older brother, he's the one who put me onto Jerome when I was in high school. And he kept telling me, you know, watch this guy who plays for Cal, and he's super short and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, I'm watching him, and he was amazing, and I was a huge fan of him. And then once he graduated from Cal, I didn't know where he was playing. And when I came out here, I want to say one of our first games, like probably our first or second game here, we're playing against Jerome Randall. And I'm like, oh my God, shit, here he is again. Like, so it was like, yeah, a whole lot of those aha moments where I've been able to match up against people that I've been huge fans of. And obviously Jerome's a hell of a player. So when I did pull off that move, I just kind of kept, I just kept thinking, you got to make this shot. You had to fucking make the shot. So yeah,
the best thing about that highlight, when I look back at that, you know, preparation for this, just behind where the ring is, you can see me in the crowd. Just behind.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to have to clip this up and I'll put a nice...
Yeah, I was going to say, got to see that.
So I was right there with you. So before we get into all of your career stuff, which again, can't wait to share with everybody the story, because it is so amazing about all the resilience that you had to go through, how you're still so humble, all the hard times and hard work that you had to put in it. It's a really awesome story. It's got a movie written all over it, really. But I've actually got a story for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Now,
I'm waiting for that.
I don't know if you know this, Bryce, but we've actually met once before. I don't know if you know this.
I feel bad for saying it, but no, I don't.
I didn't think you remember it. That's totally fine. Fine. But I remember it, and I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't just a meeting. You taught me a very, very valuable life lesson. And I'm going to have this as a life lesson for the rest of my life. Okay. Be dead sad, right? So, I don't know if you know this. I was actually on this TV show called Love Island. Have you heard of Love Island?
I've heard of it.
Heard of it? Yeah. So... it's a dating show. They bring me on an island. Hot boy, hot girl. I was one of the hot boys. So I was went over to this island. Yeah. I did this show for a few weeks, and then I come back to Perth. And the first weekend that I'm back, we decided, I was with Jono, who's doing the buttons here, and my sister, another friend. We thought, let's go out. Let's go out and about. So Sunday night, we're headed up to the Lookout up in Scarborough. Right, the Lookout up in Scarborough. So we're going up there, and again, this is my first night out, like from the show, and I didn't know. I was like A-list celebrity when I came back for 8 weeks there, not anymore. For 8 weeks, I was the Brad Pitt of Perth. Like, I was up here. Yeah. I didn't know this, so I walked to the front of the line. The line's huge, and someone was like, "Oh, Jared, come on through, straight through." I'm sure you get this all the time, but straight through. They're going, "Yeah, how many mates you got? No worries, going in. Drinks, don't worry about it. They're all free." I'm going, "This is amazing. It's this. Every second person selfie. I'm getting my." What's it called? Cheeks are sore from smiling so much doing the selfies. There's so many everywhere. Having the best time ever. Thinking best night of my life. I'm flying up here. I'm Brad Pitt of Perth. I'm just like, I'm king of Scarborough tonight. And then we're sitting down, and I look over the bar, and these two guys walk in, and it's Tarico White and Bryce Cotton. Right? And I look over to Jono, and I go, "Jono, this could not get any better. I'm Brad Pitt of Perth. Drinks are free. Everyone's coming up, girls everywhere. This is the best day ever."
Right.
And Bryce Cotton, my favourite athlete, has walked in, and I'm about to meet Bryce Cotton, and we're gonna be best friends, and this is gonna be the best night of my entire life, right? I'm thinking, this is awesome, right? So anyway, I go, all right, let's do this. So anyway, I'm up here, Bryce. I'm floating off the floor. I've got so much confidence, having the best day ever. And then Bryce Cotton's walking down this way, and I'm walking towards Bryce Cotton. I'm pushing all the fans out the way. I'm going, there's no more selfies. It's me and Bryce time when we get there. And I go, "Bryce, how you doing?" And I go for a handshake. So I'm going to need you to do a role reverse with you for a sec. You're going to be me.
Okay.
I'm going to be you. All right?
All right.
Now, you're going to be excited. I'm Bryce Cotton, right? You're going to be excited to meet me. Be excited.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah, okay,
super excited.
So go for a handshake, right? So you're me.
Yep.
And I'm greeted with the softest,
the dead fish.
The dead fish, the wettest fish handshake I've ever had in my entire life. And I'll tell you what, Bryce, I went from Brad Pitt of Perth back down to Gerard from Canning Vale very quickly after that. So thank you so much for keeping me humble.
That is crazy.
And honestly, it's a life lesson, and I'm going to carry that with me forever. Just remember where you come from, and you taught me that. So thank you so much.
You know what? In my defense, when you told me it was Lookout, I already knew, like, okay, it's either this year or that year. And when Tarico was playing, I messed up my thumb really bad. Like I had damn near ruptured it.
Oh,
So
project wasn't
that
there.
could be a reason why I didn't squeeze it in my defense.
Oh, wow.
But if I still taught you a lesson,
It's
you're
taught me a
welcome.
lesson, right?
My
And I
thumb
need
was
that,
hurt.
and I'm so thankful he did that because
Yeah.
I stayed so humble. So thank you so much.
And if you think I'm making it up, you can see the footage where I got my hand wrapped all season and Tariq's my
the
teammate.
bad thumb. Oh,
Yeah.
mate, I forgive you, and again, thank you so much for doing
Yeah,
it. 'Cause it really
exactly.
did. And I've told that story to so many people. So
Right.
that's it.
Hey, water under the bridge, man. Water under the bridge.
But hey, mate, we're sitting on the couch now about to do a podcast, so we're good. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you now. So, like I said, you've got such an amazing story, hard work, resilience, determination, all of it. It is really inspirational, and I don't just love you for your basketball ability, but your whole story is just really inspiring, and it would be for so many people. So, let's go right back. You grew up in Tucson, Arizona. Want to tell us a little bit about Tucson and growing up and your family?
Yeah, so Tucson is a super small city. I had a small family, and basically, it was me and my older brother, and we were raised by my mom, my grandma, and my great-grandma primarily. And yeah, it was just, we used to have a whole bunch of fun, playing, just doing small city stuff. And I was a baby of the family at the time. All my older cousins and my brother, like, they played sports, so I just played whatever they wanted to play. So I want to say early on, it was baseball, football, basketball. I was playing everything. And then for whatever reason, my mom kept magically missing the signups for baseball 3 years in a row.
No.
Magically missed it. And out of nowhere, I just kind of stopped wanting to play that. So then it just became football and basketball. Then I got sick, and they didn't want me playing sports that involved like a lot of head knocks. So then it just kind of became basketball, and I zeroed in on that, and yeah, it kind of took off from there.
And what age was that you started to take basketball a little bit more seriously, or maybe stop the other sports and getting into basketball?
So when I knew I was gonna take basketball seriously, I was about 10.
Yep.
Yeah, I was about 10.
Gotcha. And you said that your mum stopped signing you up for football, and was just like, you were usher this way, don't worry about that. Let's go a little bit more of the basketball route. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, so, well, with the baseball, I don't know. That's still a mystery to this day. Why she stopped signing
why
me up?
that is? I can already tell you, because baseball's like our cricket, right? Where you're there all day. Like, you're there the whole day doing
Right.
baseball the whole day. Fuck that if you're a parent. That is
Hey,
so hard.
I agree, but my brother's main sport was baseball.
Was it really?
Yeah, so
Oh.
that's why I'm like, I don't know what the excuse was for that one, but yeah, so baseball was out the window early. I loved football the most, and then yeah, when I got sick, I had a rare form of epilepsy, which we didn't know right away.
Crazy.
But yeah, they were like, you need to stay away from any sports that have a lot of like continuous head knocks or whatever. So basketball just ended up being the one sport left because I didn't want to try soccer or anything like that. Plus, like, I was kind of one of the smaller kids anyway. And once kids like really started to fill out, I'm like, yeah, maybe basketball is not such a bad
The kids
idea
are feeling a
anyway.
little bit
Yeah,
bigger than
exactly.
usual,
Yeah.
Totally. And you just touched on it before that you were diagnosed with epilepsy when that was when you were 10?
Well, I got diagnosed at 11, but I started having all the episodes when I was 9.
And what sort of stuff was happening? What sort of symptoms were you having for that? And how was that affecting you?
I mean, it's the weirdest thing. So long story short, I can tell you how the first one happened.
Yeah.
It was the day after my great-grandmother's birthday. I wake up, I'm watching SpongeBob, and my mom tells me breakfast is ready. I try to get out of bed, and my leg won't move. Like it's paralyzed. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then I'm able to get up, and everything's fine. I'm eating breakfast. Then I'm walking back to my room. My leg gives out again. Can't really move it for like 10, 15 seconds. And I'm like, in my head, like, why do I keep falling? Like, what's going on? And then the next time, it might have been another half hour later, leg goes numb again. I can't move it. And then I just feel this pain starting in my foot. And then it goes all the way up to basically my rib cage. And then my body is just convulsing. And I remember my mom comes into the room and her eyes is like, yeah, she's just looking like she's looking at an exorcism type shit. So
when you have an episode like that, had an epileptic fit like that, can you kind of remember what happened with it, or are you a little bit kind of dazed as that happened?
I remembered, so in the beginning when they first started to happen, I was able to still kind of talk. Like I could yell for my mom and talk a little bit and I can see what's going on. But they progressively got worse and worse like every few months to where when they happen, I'm not like aware of anything. And that's why the doctors basically said, because they didn't know what was going on, they actually said at one point they thought I was doing it to myself for attention, which was crazy, yeah. But they were like, well, we don't know what's going on. It's progressively getting worse. Like, you should probably plan for the funeral because he won't make it past 6th grade.
What fucking doctor did you go to?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So it was wild, but some significance behind that is me not making it past 6th grade. I would have died at 11. So, aside from that, 11 was always a number, was like a lucky number for me sports wise. But then when I got hit with that, it just became even more of a special number to me as I continued to live on, because it's a reminder that whatever time you're given on this earth, you use it to your advantage and you live it to the fullest. You never take time off. So every time I suit up and I see 11 now, or for however many years I've been wearing it, it's just a reminder of like you've gone so far in your life, but keep going.
Oh man, it's amazing. That is just so full on. And at the time when you were so young, could you grasp how serious that was yourself, or was it more your mum that was obviously trying to, get you through that and maybe make it not sound as bad as what it was, or were you pretty aware with everything that the doctors were saying and how your mum was acting of what they maybe thought could have happened?
My mom and my gran, they shielded me from what the doctors were saying. They just kept talking about, well, those doctors could say what they want. God has the final say. God's in control. So they used to always tell me, just keep the faith and keep praying. But so I agreed with them on that standpoint. But also when I'm going through these fits, like sometimes during these fits, like you don't know if you're going to live if you can't breathe. So I was still aware it was very, very serious, but I was just, praying, hoping for a miracle. But so I would say it was a little bit of both, but now that I'm a parent, it's crazy. Like, I don't know, it's amazing for me to think like how my mom and my gran weathered the storm throughout all these different obstacles. We even moved to a different state because my gran had some connections with some people, I guess, from back in her day. And we moved to try to get better medical help and all that. But the efforts they went through, it was absolutely amazing. So with my journey with basketball, like as much as I feel like I owe it to myself, like I owe it to them and everybody else that supported me through all these different obstacles.
Yeah, most definitely. So then from that, when did you start to kind of get a little bit more on top of it in terms of whatever treatment that you were doing, and then able to get back into basketball, and then eventually obviously play high school basketball, and then sort of thereon, what was that little period like?
So the basketball never stopped, even though I
really
have the only thing that stopped was baseball and football, but I was still able to play basketball. 7th grade is when we went to, I forget the hospital, but it was in Phoenix. And they told me, you have this form of epilepsy and you're going to take the medication. I think it was called Tegretol. And like, I hated taking pills. Like, I just had a phobia of taking pills because I'd always feel like I'd choke on them. So they gave me the chewable ones, and I remember they tasted like candy. Like they actually tasted, really, really good. The
whole packet was gone.
Yeah. So they gave me Tegretol when I was in 7th grade, and I used to have to take it 2 times a day. And thank God, like the last time I ever had an episode was the last day of school in 6th grade. And I've been cool ever since. But I took that medication for 2 years.
Wow. Crazy, man. And then what high school did you end up playing at?
So I went to Tucson High for my first 2 years.
Yeah. And you did very well, Tucson High as well, eh? Towards the back end of it.
Nah, so I mean, I did great on freshman. So I played freshman. I don't know if you guys know out here, there's 3 levels for high school basketball. You got your freshman team, which is first year. And then you got JV for years 10 or 11.
Yep.
And then you got varsity. So I played freshman year. We did well. And
it's less common for obviously younger guys to play minutes when you're in a freshman year because you're just coming into the team.
Yeah, usually good players, they play varsity as freshmen or at least sophomores. I didn't either. So I went through all the different stages. The first 2 years were pretty cool. Then I moved off to Vegas for a year because my mom had a job transfer. I wasn't a fan of moving out there at all.
It might be now, but maybe not when you were 12. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be now for sure. But yeah, so when we moved out there, I just kind of told my mom, I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work. Like all the high schools have their guys. Like I want to go out here and sit the bench basically because I have 2 years to try to get a scholarship. So needless to say, we went out there anyway. The year went, okay. As from a team standpoint, we did all right, but it didn't go well for me individually. And I remember telling my mom, like I wanted to move back to Tucson for my senior year, and I was like, we tried your path or whatever, and we saw how it went. But I was like, just let me bet on myself, move back to Tucson. If it doesn't work out, then I can blame myself. I don't have to blame anybody because I chose my path. I was like, but if I stay here for my senior year and it doesn't work out, this wasn't my path, and like, I just feel that's not fair. So she was like, all right, cool. Like we'll move back.
How far is that move, by the way?
6.5 hour drive. So we moved back, and basically I had like 1 real year of varsity where I was gonna play real minutes. So it was like an all or nothing year. And I went to Palo Verde when I came back to Tucson, and that's when I really, really went rolling.
Yeah, wicked. And you were averaging what, like 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. That's pretty awesome numbers.
Yeah.
Averaging high school, that's elite.
Yeah, and that year went was first team all city and all state as well. So definitely did my thing, and I was just forever grateful my mom like allowed me to take that chance and come back home.
Most definitely a great move. So then from that, you would have thought if you're averaging those sort of numbers, that there would just be college. Yeah. Offers coming in all over the place. What was that like? Did you receive any offers? And what was that little period leading up to playing college for you like?
Yeah, I was just getting turned down left and right. The
Idiots.
The biggest recruit, or the biggest school I would say that was recruiting me at the time, was Montana State, and I was like sure I was gonna go there. And
so how does it kind of work? Is there scouts that just get sent out to all the high school games? Is it how does it? Do you go for tryouts? They do like a combine thing. How does it work?
Well, they have AAU circuits, which happen in the off season, where you travel to different tournaments, and that's where you just have a gang of scouts, college scouts, just watching and seeing what guys they like, and then they find your information, and they know what high school you're at, and then that's how they kind of keep tabs.
Yeah.
But Montana State in particular, I did their elite camp, which is, I guess, anybody they're looking at.
So you're right under their nose doing all the stuff. Yeah.
And me and this guy, so this is when I was still in Vegas. I hadn't moved to Tucson yet. We went to their elite camp. We're both in Vegas. And we did so good the first 2 or 3 games that they broke our team apart. Like, they were like, it's just not competitive, basically. So in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting a scholarship. And one of the guys who we had beat before they split the teams up was somebody they had already offered. So I was like, oh, I'm rolling. I'm going to be good. Then they humbled me real quick, told me they had 3-4 guys ahead of me that they felt was better at my position. And they just kind of weaned off. And I'm pretty sure Damo told me one of the coaches at Montana State used to coach him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how things come around full circle.
Totally.
And the other one was UC Santa Barbara. So they came for our first playoff game. And we were down like 17. We came back, won the game. I had 40 points.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely going to UC Santa Barbara now. And they just disappeared after that as well. And their reasoning was, they said, we have a guy that's getting ready to be a pro in either a year or 2's time, and he plays your position, so we don't need you. And it was humbling, but another full circle moment was, the guy's name was Orlando Johnson. Mm-hmm. That's actually my friend to this day. We ended up playing together in the D League for a little bit, and then he played out here in Australia a couple years ago in Brisbane. And I remember telling him about that, like, because I was like so jealous that he got to go to UC Santa Barbara, because that was probably the only school that would have been remotely close to Tucson. But yeah, a lot of full circle moments.
Wow, that's wild. And then how did you actually then end up at Providence? Who contacted who? Did you get an offer from them, or was it, did you go to a combine, you talked to a coach, how did it happen?
So Providence was the flukest thing. But before I say that, shout out to UC Santa Barbara, because Orlando Johnson did get drafted and he did play a few years in the NBA. So they made the right call. So I'm not disrespecting that.
They still should have shout out to them. Well, I should have gone Bryce Collins. But he wouldn't be sitting
I could have came there after him. I could have came there after. But shout out. So basically I'm playing pickup, and this is like well after I've graduated. So we're in August now. And I'm playing pickup with my godbrother at the gym. And we go to take a water break, and this guy who runs the Arizona Preps website, his name's Anthony Ray, and he was like kind of helping me and trying to help a bunch of other unsigned seniors get to a school. He was like, "Oh, I think I may have a scholarship for you at Providence," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so,
because Providence is a big school as well, right?
Yeah, it's in the Big East too. So like, you have to remember, from my perspective, I'm getting turned down by schools like Montana State, NAU, like teams in the Big Sky Conference saying like they don't even think I'm tough enough or good enough. So a school like in the Big East, I'm like, I know I'm not going high major. So it just kind of took me for a loop. But anyway, I think they signed me because I had good grades and like I could have boosted the team's GPA.
Nice.
But it was probably 4 or 5 days before school started. They decided to offer me, and I didn't have anything else to bargain with. Otherwise, I would have went to local community college. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And I just took it as, this is your one and only opportunity. You have to make it work. And the journey that happens from when I get there is crazy. But yeah, I always describe to people me getting into college was the luckiest thing. And I still don't know how or why it happened. Like they just came across me randomly on a website and decided to pull the trigger.
That's crazy.
So shout out Keno Davis. That was the head coach of Providence. And then Christian Davis was the head assistant. And they're the ones who decided to bring me into Providence.
Crazy.
So that changed my life.
That's awesome. And then when you're first rocking up to that program, like you said, you're kind of feeling almost a little bit out of your depth, thinking, gee, this is a big school. This is the next level up from where maybe I thought I was going to be to start on off with. What was it first like rolling into that program? And playing with the guys and just sort of finding your spot in the team and what you're going to be doing throughout your college career?
So talent-wise, I didn't feel like I was out of my depth, but like I was just in awe of like the schools that I was getting turned down by to a school that decides to offer me. I forgot to mention even a Division II school turned me down as well. And like just out of the blue, like I show up on the visit and they were like, "Yep, we just want to get a look at you."
So why do you think that kept happening?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell
why?
You. Couldn't tell you. But the Chico State, they were like, "We just want to get you on campus so you can get familiar with some of the guys, but basically we'll put a pen to paper there," and played pickup, hung out with the guys. They pulled me into the office the next day and they're like, "Look, we don't know how this happened, but we found out we don't have any scholarship money. We're sorry." And me and my high school coach felt like maybe they just thought I was taller or bigger in stature than what I actually was. But yeah, so just a bunch of those things, like D2s, the low Division 1s turning me down, and now I'm playing at the Big East, which is one of the biggest conferences in college history. So it's very surreal, but I felt like, okay, now that I'm here, it's a great opportunity to see where I'm at and compete. But I was honestly just in awe that whole year because I didn't play a lot my freshman year. And when you're playing against coaches like Rick Pitino, Jim Boeheim, Calhoun from Connecticut, like all these coaches that I used to watch as a kid on TV from little old Tucson. Like at that time, nobody did much coming from Tucson from a basketball standpoint. Like the only two names you heard would be Sean Elliott or Fat Lever. And those guys came up when my mom came up. So for the next 20, 30 years.
A bit of a gap, yeah.
Yeah. And we're talking that's pros. Like people weren't even going to college doing amazing. So I'm just like, wow, I can't believe these guys are like my competition now. And then once I didn't play my freshman year, I kind of snapped out of it and then was like, all right, I'm going to get back to work. And I'm going to work as the hardest I've ever done in my life because I'm trying to get on the floor and prove myself. And once I got out of that all stage, a bunch of other things started to happen, but my sophomore year was my breakout year.
And then who was sort of in front of you in terms of the position, getting more court time at the time in college? And then when did the little point turn, like you said, where a couple of things maybe fell your way? What fell your way? And yeah, what happened? Tell us about that.
All right, so long story short, freshman year, I'm playing behind Marshawn Brooks. So he led the Big East in scoring. I think he was number 2 in the nation behind Jimmy Burnett. And yeah, so I had courtside seats basically to watch him light it up every night.
And he's a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no problem with that. Like, he was a senior, and yeah, everybody knew he was going to get drafted. So that was cool. I was able to learn from him, watching him night in, night out. And then going into my sophomore year, they were bringing in this guard named Kiwi Gardner, and he was like one of like the first YouTube sensations for like basketball players, like how guys go viral now all the time. Mm-hmm. Kiwi was like probably one of the originals when that stuff was still rare to become viral. And when he got here, he was ruled academically ineligible for the whole season, so he would have been...
Is that just because his grades weren't good enough to play, or was there other stuff?
Like qualifying for, like basically qualifying for the NCAA clearinghouse, I think they call it. So it's based off of, did you take the right courses to give you the proper credits in high school to make you eligible? And so that stuff, it didn't go through.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to play a lot of minutes because we were really short at the guard position at that point. Because I think we lost 3 guards after my freshman year. So they had no choice but to play me. We had a new coaching staff going into that year. Ed Cooley, that was his first year. And I played probably like 37 minutes a game. So I went from playing like 7 minutes a game to 37 the next year. And I averaged, I think, 14. I was second on the team in scoring. So I had a really good breakout year. So now it's like, okay, now I'm kind of being respected. Like, I do belong at this level in the eyes of other people.
Yeah.
Now, going into that following year, we recruit 2 people, Ricky Leto and Chris Dunn. So Ricky Leto is like number 2 at his position in the country, shooting guard. And then we got Chris Dunn, who was the number 1 point guard in the country, McDonald's All-American and all that. So it's like, all right, I'm probably not going to be playing.
Yeah, so you just built it back up. You're getting your minutes, and you go, hold on, I'm about to take a bit more of a seat again.
Because it's like these coaches' first time to bring in their recruits. Like that first year, they just had to deal with who was already here. But with Chris Dunn, he hurts his shoulder, and he's hurt for probably the first half of the season. And then Ricky is ruled academically ineligible for the whole year, like Kiwi was the year before.
Yep.
And Kiwi had transferred out after that year, so Kiwi's gone. And our starting point guard, Vince Council, at the time, who's also the Big East leading assist leader, I think that record still stands. He tears his hamstring the first play of the first game of the season, tip ball.
Wow.
So like, you know how the ref gets ready to throw the ball out, tips it, Vince runs to grab it.
Snap.
2 seconds have gone off the clock.
Wow.
Tears his hamstring, so now I got to play point guard. Everything is on me.
Wow.
And I'm going on a tear. So
what a weird injury to get, though, off a jump ball.
First play again.
Wow.
Of the season.
That's wild.
So, yeah, so I'm playing amazing. First 5 or 6 games of the season, I'm averaging like 24 a game, doing well. And then we play Mississippi State. And I'm starting off well. I shoot a 3. Guy basically hits me because I naturally jump forwards on my 3s. And I failed to sell it, but I didn't realize how close I was to the ground because I was focused on the shot. And my knee just twisted very funny, and I felt a lot of pops. And when I got up, there's a lot of crunching. And so at first I thought it was an ACL. But anyway, they took me to the back, and they did all the mobility tests, found out I tore my meniscus. And so
which is a bad injury still.
Yeah. So and I have a bone chip as well. So there's a bone chip in there. And they give me the dilemma. So they say, like, look, meniscus tears, like, it's kind of based off your tolerance. Like what you've done, basically, you can't do anything worse to it. So if you...
Is that actually true?
If you can handle the pain. I got, yeah. Yeah. This is what they're telling me. And the way I took it when they said, you know, if you can handle the pain, you know, you can play through it. If you can't, then, you know, you'll just call it a season. And I'm weird mentally, so like I just took that as like, if you're soft, just go ahead.
Good to go. Yeah.
Like don't play. And I'm thinking, you know, Ricky is ruled ineligible. Chris has hurt his shoulder. Vince just tore his hamstring, and I'm averaging 24 points a game up until this point. I may never get this chance again in my life, so I'm like, I gotta play. So I get, you know, shot up with cortisone and all that stuff. Play through the season. Ended up leading the Big East in scoring. Had an amazing year. It was first team all Big East, and yeah, it was an amazing year. So like now the cat's really out the bag. Like, okay, Bryce is for real.
He's rocked up. So
going into my senior year, which is my final year, the scouts wanted to know basically could I play point guard, because they knew I could score at that point. And Chris is obviously coming back. Ricky declared for the draft. He got drafted, so Ricky's gone. Vince had graduated. Chris is coming back, so obviously...
Same as yours, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But I'm not going to play point guard. Like, I'm going to be the 2. Chris is going to be the 1. So we start the season off, right? And before that, the last preseason game, before we start the actual season, Chris dives for like a loose ball. We're up 20. Game's decided, and he falls fighting, messes up his shoulder. Last play of a preseason game, can't make it up. So they don't know, like, is he going to be able to play or not? He tries probably the first 4 games or so, but his shoulder is just so messed up.
Yeah.
Shuts the season down for him. So Chris is done for the whole year. So now they have no choice but to play me at the point guard because we don't have anybody else now. And I took it as like, all right, here's another opportunity where all this miraculous shit keeps happening. Well, not miraculous, but like where these unfortunate things are happening. They're presenting opportunities for you. You have to capitalize.
Yep.
And so, yeah, they played me the point guard the whole year. I was second in the league in scoring, first in assists, and we won the Big East championship.
Beautiful.
And we went to the tournament for the first time in a decade. So
with no knee, how good's that?
Well, the knee was good at that point. I was able to get surgery going into the next season, but yeah, like it was just like, anytime I talk about it, I can't believe all those things happen year after year after year.
Because you were waiting there because you've done all the prep, you've been training hard, you've got the mindset of, like you said, stepping up. This is the opportunity, make whatever happen. So, you know, it's things do happen, but then it's a difference between somebody actually doing something about it and then not doing something about it, isn't it?
Or if you get one break, but like literally that was 3 breaks in a row. I just told you, from my sophomore, my junior, my senior year, something kept happening elsewhere. But obviously I was always preparing myself, but it was just crazy how that stuff happened. And if one of those things don't happen, maybe that changes the whole trajectory of my path.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So in 2014, you finish up college and you enter the NBA draft. Tell us about that period and what the draft experience was like for you. Did you get any offers? How did you go in the actual combine? All that sort of thing.
It was the same thing as high school. So as much as I accomplished my last 2 years of college, I didn't even get an invite to the combine, which was, you know, crazy to me.
As much as you said before that you feel lucky with some of the things, I feel like you're balancing this luck with the unlucky stuff as well.
Yeah. Got to take the crickets with the straights, I guess. But yeah, so I didn't get an invite to the combine. That was a shock. But I did like 15 workouts for different teams.
Wow.
Anybody who's gone through the pre-draft workout process, it's crazy. You're in an airplane probably every 3 days or so flying somewhere. So your body, by the end of it, is just spent. But fast forwarding that to draft day, I'm nervous as ever because obviously your whole life that you've worked for, it's like sitting right here in front of you. So when we get to the second round, I want to say it's around probably the 42nd pick. The Spurs called my agent, and they must have called him maybe 2 or 3 times, and they said, look, we have like 3 of the last picks or something like that late in the second round. They had like the 52nd, the 56th, and I think 58, somewhere around there. And they're like, look, we would love to take Bryce. Like, we love his game. We'd love to have a close look at him and all that. But we would go the draft and stash route, which means they would draft me, and then I'd play overseas that first year. Because they were bringing back their whole roster because they just won the championship. They just beat Miami.
Which that's quite unusual that they didn't have probably as many spots open up to switch guys in and out, really, hey?
They had 0 spots. Like, they brought back their whole team.
As in, that's really uncommon.
Oh, yeah, very
to
rare.
bring the whole
very
team
rare.
back. Yeah.
Very rare. But, I mean, all of those guys were veterans. They had all been playing, I think, for the Spurs for quite a bit. So the chemistry is through the roof. And I told my agent, like, I don't want to do that because I feel if I decide to get drafted, yes, I hear my name called. And while my family is celebrating all that, I know in my heart I'm not playing in the NBA that year. I'm being shipped off, overseas. And, like, that's just not what I want. So they said, okay. So they go with their first pick or whatever. And, like, at 52 or whatever, they draft somebody. And then they draft somebody again. And when it came to do their last call, they called up my agent again. They're like, are you sure that, like, you don't want us to draft him? And my agent asked again. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And they said, okay. So, like, it was weird explaining to, like, my family, like, I chose not to get drafted under those circumstances. But after that, it was like, okay, I've been down this road before. I had to prove myself in high school and college. And, I started thinking, why should the pros be any different? So I go through the D-League route, and our team is absolutely stacked. So it's, at one point, it's me, J. Mike, who actually plays for the Warriors now, Jonathan Simmons, he played for the Spurs. Eventually, he did well. Orlando Johnson, was when I had that first time I met him. And then a couple other really good players on the team. We're rolling, killing throughout the year. J. Mike gets called up at the NBA showcase, and then probably 3 weeks after him, I finally get called up to the Utah Jazz, and that was a dream come true because, one, it was something that I wanted to do since I was a kid, and I remember when I was in, like, 3rd grade, I had asked my mom who all went to the NBA from Tucson, and, of course, she named, like, 2 people, Fat Lever and Sean, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, Mom, be the 3rd. You watch and see. So when I actually signed on the dotted line, that conversation I had with my mom came through in my mind, and
that's so sick.
And it told me I made the right decision by choosing not to go the draft and stash route, because even though it took me through a different path, I'm still in the NBA where I wanted to be. So that was absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't change that journey because the bonds that I formed with some of the guys too on the D-League team, it was amazing before I got there to Utah.
And then who were the players on the team for Utah at the time? Who were the big dogs?
So the big dog at that time was Gordon Hayward. And then you had the up-and-comers. You had Rodney Hood. You had Dante Exum, who just got drafted. He was a lottery pick. Joe Ingles was over there.
Nice.
And Rudy Gobert. So those were the
guys. Names there.
Yeah. So that was really cool.
Was that a 10-day contract, that first one?
It was a 10-day, and then they ended up signing me for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So how many more games did you play? How many games did you play for that period for Utah?
I couldn't tell you, but I signed in February.
Yeah.
And then, I stayed the rest of the year. But what was crazy, another full circle moment. So Ian Clark was on that team. He played for the Sydney Kings not too long ago. And I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me correct, they released him so they can keep me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was wild because it was like, Ian was obviously established. But so that was a pretty crazy moment. But I think it worked out for everybody because, one, I got to live my dream. 2, Ian goes off to the Warriors and wins a championship or 2. So everybody won. Everybody won, yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody won. So it was cool. Trey Burke was over there in the last 5 or 6 games of the season. He hurts his back, and he's the backup point guard. So Quinn Snyder, he pulls me aside before one of the games, and he tells me, basically, Trey's hurt. He's going to sit the rest of the season because, like, we're not going to make playoffs. So he was like, you'll get the backup minutes. And he tells me, he was like, I know you've been trying to fit in, play the point guard, and just basically pass the ball and facilitate. He was like, but you're a scorer. That's what you're best at. He was like, so that's what I want you to do. He said, go out there, be aggressive, look to score.
Beautiful.
And
I can do that, coach.
Yeah. And he told me, like, word for word, he said, look to score. If you're missing, don't worry about it. Keep shooting because when you're on, you're on.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm just like, I can't believe this.
Oh God, we got a dog coming in the. Bryce hates dogs. Get it away.
No, I'm
Get
good.
it
I'm
away.
good. He want to hear the story too. Man, but yeah. So like when he told me that, I'm just like, well, I just had an NBA coach tell me, shoot the ball, don't worry about it, I'll miss it. So this is crazy. So the last 5 or 6 games of the season, I start playing really well. I think I averaged probably 12 points a game within that span, 12 points, 3 assists or something like that, which would have been
great.
solid for backup numbers,
so
you know.
solid.
And my favorite, I guess, NBA moment, we played the Mavericks, and we won that game. I had 21 points in 25 minutes, and I got to match up. I think the point guards at that time was Barea, Rondo, and Raymond Felton. Those are the guards on that Mavericks team. And I just couldn't believe I was playing against JJ Barea, because once I went, or thought I was going the undrafted route, I looked up all the undrafted guards. So like I was obsessed with JJ Barea's path. He had won a championship a few years before. And during the game, like he's, you know, giving me little compliments here and there. Like, man, you're so athletic, you're so quick. And I'm like, I just can't believe where my life is right now, you know? Yeah. And that was the game too, where I had that crazy dunk.
Yes. Tell me about the dunk. How did that come about? Was it the coach that pulled that out, or did you say, I've got this? So how did that work? Who called that?
It was a little bit of both. So when I was in the D League, right, that was a play. It was like a set play we used to run all the time because we had a good passing big, and I'm pretty athletic. So we used to get that dunk all the time, like probably once a game.
Yeah.
And he asked me at breakfast that day, Quinn Snyder, he said, can you draw up that alley-oop play that you used to run in the D League? So I drew it up for him. He's like, okay. He was like, we might run this at some point. So he calls timeout in the second quarter, and he looks to me and he says, Bryce, tell me that play again. Tell us where you want it.
Let's go. Yeah.
So I'm lining up the spots. Like, this guy's here, I'm here, and the play is for Rodney Hood to throw the alley-oop. And all I'm thinking is when this play happens, like, Rodney, please don't fuck up this pass, man. Like, I
don't
need
throw it at me ankles.
I need this. So yeah, we set the play up. Everything's running smooth. He throws it up there, and I just feel like no matter where it is, I have to go get it. But I see out the corner of my eye, I think it was so Devin Harris jumps, and then there's Dwight Powell coming out of the corner of my eye, and I see him. Dwight Powell's like 6'11".
Yeah.
So I get nervous. So like literally I just grab it with my left hand and I just try to like get it at the hoop as quick as I can. My eyes were actually closed. Yeah. So I do it, but then I hear the crowd go crazy and I kind of look to the bench. Like, did I just make that? And like I see everybody going crazy and I'm like, oh shit, this is wild. And then I just went on to have an amazing game. Did some great crossovers on some people, hit some shots. Like almost like the same move I did on Randall.
Yeah.
I did it to somebody else. Hit the shot. So
over the joint.
And like that sealed the deal for me. That let me know, like, if I'm given an opportunity, I can play no matter where I'm at if I'm given the opportunity. So I'm always forever grateful for the time that I had with Utah because of that stint where I got those backup minutes and playing well. That awesome. Meant the world to me.
And you actually, like you said before, you averaged some really good points and assists and stats and everything. So at the end of that season, were you offered another contract with Utah, or did you continue to train with them, or how did that work once that season was actually over?
So here's what happened, right?
Full stitch up, it has to be.
Yeah. So basically, going into that off season, I think there was like world qualifiers or something going on where people play for their countries.
Yep.
Dante Exum tears his ACL on like a non-contact play when he's playing for Australia. Mm-hmm. And they come to me when we're in summer league and playing for them still. And they're like, well, look, or they told my agent, we don't know if Dante's going to be ready by the time the season comes. So you might have to start a couple games. So now in my mind, because they told me that, it's not a matter of, okay, am I going to be on the team next year? Like, you just told me I might have to start because X is hurt. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, things are going well. I had an amazing summer league with the team. And then all of a sudden they signed Raul Neto during summer league, guaranteed his contract, and mine still wasn't guaranteed. So like,
you see they going
so my ears is like, okay, my spidey senses are tingling at this point. Like, what's going on? But I'm trying not to pay any mind to it. And once we roll into the preseason, I'm not getting a lot of minutes. Like they want to see Raul in action and all that. And Raul did well with the time he was given as well. So like no slack to him. But as I'm seeing my minutes and my reps start to diminish, like I'm starting to see like, okay, something's not right. And then they cut me right before the regular season started. And to me, that was the first shock I had in my career where I felt an opportunity was coming and then it closed. Because when X tore his ACL,
you're thinking that's a bigger opening for me.
I'm coming off of 3 years straight of somebody getting hurt or ruled ineligible for me to have a breakout year.
Yeah.
Then I finished the season strong with Utah because Trey Burke hurt his back. So I did well with those backup minutes, and now X tears his ACL. So I'm like, this is Providence happening all over again. But now the NBA, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to like blow up. And so when that door shut, it was like, oh damn, like I didn't really know how to respond to it mentally because I never had that happen. But and I never really got a real opportunity again. Like I played with Phoenix and I played with the Grizzlies for a little bit, but never really got another opportunity again. But I still wouldn't trade those experiences for the world because at the end of the day, I still got to prove to myself what I wanted to know. And then now I'm thriving over here in Australia.
Yeah. So then, like you said, you had some contracts with the Grizzlies and Phoenix as well. You sort of bounced around some 10-day contracts. What point did you go, all right, cool, I'm going to try something else and take my talents overseas? Because you ended up going to Turkey after that. So
I went to China first. After Phoenix kept me, I went to China.
Was there a lot of like at the time, I know that you're happy how it's all worked out now for you, but at the time when that all happened, when you didn't get that contract, when maybe the NBA route was looking like, oh shit, I need to look and do something else here. What was that feeling for you like? Were you thinking I can get back here? Were you really resentful for the stuff that happened? Was there anything like that, or
both? Like I was thinking, okay, how do I get back here? I was very resentful of like I couldn't watch, probably after Phoenix cut me, I don't think I could watch an NBA game for probably 2 years. Like I wasn't able to do it because if I watch a game and then like there's a timeout and you look and you see a guy that you've played against, you're like, damn, he's on the roster too. Yeah. Like, wait, I had 30 on this guy, or I had 40 on this guy. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm thinking at this point. I'm not, I'm still very narrow-minded. So yeah, it was very, very frustrating, but I go over to China, play over there. I finished their season in the playoffs, and by the time we finish, I want to say playoffs are just about to start for the NBA, and Memphis signs me to a 10-day, and I finish out the last 2 weeks with them, and that's when the Warriors went on to get their 73rd win on us.
Wow.
And I did get to score an Iggy, it worked out. But so yeah, that was my last time playing in an NBA uniform with Memphis. And then from there, I went to Turkey, and Turkey was a wild experience. Like that's when ISIS was pretty bad, and like there'd be a lot of random incidents that would happen that starts far away from the city I'm in, and it just seemed like every couple weeks the incidents would be closer and closer. Yeah. So it's like, imagine something happens in Melbourne, then like it just slowly starts working its way over to this coast, and before you know it, okay, some shit happened in Perth. And long story short, bomb ended up going off 20 minutes from where I stayed when I was in Istanbul. And the last thing I wanted to be worried about was safety. Plus, I already wasn't enjoying it because I wasn't getting the minutes I wanted, and I didn't feel like I was being used the way I would like to be.
Yep.
So my agent told me like I had two options. I can go to a team in Russia, or I could go to Perth. And at that point, because I was just off the European experience, I was like, I'll go to Perth. And he told me that they, I think they were, bottom of the ladder, second last.
No good this year.
So he was like, you'll be there for 6 weeks, and then you'll get to go home, have an early off season, and restart. I was like, cool, send me there. So I'm thinking Australia's going to be a pit stop. And I had remembered X and Ingles, they had told me a little bit about Australia. And they was like, yeah, there's a basketball league out there. And they were like, oh, the seasons are reversed. Like, it's summer here when it's winter there. Like, just random shit that I didn't really think of. But then once it came full circle, I'm like, all right, let me go out here. Yeah. And before you know it, we turn the season around. We go on to win the championship. I think I set the record for most points in a grand final in league history. So like a lot of things went down, and I was like, I love this place. I'm being used the way I want to be used on the floor. And my ration at that point was like, okay, if I'm not going to be in the NBA, then I'm going to play here because I know they're going to use me. And I had so much love from Perth. So
definitely. Well, I remember the first game that he played against Sydney, and coming in on he bought late spot. There wasn't many games left. Bottom of the ladder. Bryce Cotton comes in, beats Bryce Cotton, 27 points first game, tore it to shreds. I was like, this guy's pretty good. This is gonna be awesome. And then went from there to winning the championship in your first year, and you touched on just before, scored 45 in the grand final, which was a record. What was that game like? Was the hoop just feeling just this big, and you were just doing whatever you like, or what?
Yeah, it was crazy, to be honest, man. It was just one of those games where I guess you're in the zone, everything is just rolling.
And to be in like the game 3 of the finals as well, how good that's all starting to roll in. Like there's no better time. Like
exactly, like that was the game that we get to hold up the trophy too. So yeah, it was brilliant, and it was special too because one of our teammates, Sean Redditch, that was his final year.
Yep.
So to be able to give him a championship, that was cool. Even though he went to ASU, and so a little background story for Arizona: if you're from Tucson, you hate anybody affiliated with ASU is always bear down U of A.
Yeah.
So I always tell that to Shawnee. I'm going to see bear down Wildcats.
And then you won 3 championships with the Wildcats. We won't go into all 3 of them, but maybe just which one out of the 3, there was one in 2007, 2019, and then 2020, which one was the most memorable, the one that your most favorite one, the hardest to win one, anything? Which one really sticks out for you?
I mean, they're all special in different reasons.
Of course.
But if I'm being honest, I would say 2019 probably meant the most because I felt like I should have got MVP that year.
I think you should be getting MVP every single year. It just depends on how the team goes. I think that's actually how it goes.
I know there's a lot of players that say that about themselves or whatever, but like I'm usually honest with myself if I think I deserve something or not. That year I felt I deserved it, and then when
who won it?
Bogut.
Stop.
But so Bogut won, but then when I found out I was 3rd in votes at that, I was like, no. What? So the way I rationalize it, because again, I'm sick mentally. So Melbourne beats Sydney, right? And I felt going into that MVP race, I'm like, definitely it's either going to be me or it's Casper. I'm like, there's no way in hell they give this to Bogut. So when Casper advanced to the grand final, and then we made it to the grand final, in my mind, I'm like, I would have only been okay if Casper got it. So now that Bogut's gone, here's the test of the 2 people that everybody was saying it should have been one of us. So I'm like, all right, if I can't get the MVP, we got to fucking win this championship because I can't be slighted 2 times in 1 year. So the fact that we got that, and all of them, like Liam, Corey, and whoever else is on overtime, said we would lose like 3-1 or whatever. It just meant everything that we won that championship. And then we sent Greg Hire home on a high note because he was retiring.
Still starting from that, I think. I don't think
it was special on so many reasons, so many reasons. So that's probably my favorite by far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned Casper Ware. I was going to ask you about it later on, but we'll do it now. So you had some wicked battles with him. I mean, there's clips of you guys just at each other, talking trash up and down. It would have been that season that you're talking about just then. Tell us about the battles with Casper. What were you talking to each other about? What was being said, bro? Because it was, I think that was the most, except for the game, the cameras are on you two every single time that you matched up.
Yeah, a lot of stuff being said that can't be said. I knew Casper before we came into this league, and, we was always cool. But yeah, I don't know what happened, but it just became super, super competitive to where it was like, it was personal every single time we matched up. And I didn't mind that because, back home, that was the only thing I felt that was different playing in Australia versus here. Like, I felt like people are just very, very nice here. Like, there's not a lot of trash talk. So, like, with me and Casper would get into it, like, it was nothing too crazy. It's like, that's how you do it. Like, that's how we would do it in the Big East. That's how we did it in the D-League, high school. Like, trash talk's part of the game. But as much as me and him butt heads, I got nothing but respect for him. He's a hell of a player. And, like, as I said, that season, if Casper won the MVP, I'm like, okay, I could live with that. Like, because that would have made sense. I felt we was the front runner. So as much as we butt heads, I always give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, love that. Well, it seems to be whenever you get into a game that you start talking a little bit more with whoever you're playing on, you kind of raise your level. Yeah, you do buzzer beaters, you do all sorts of crazy stuff since you start getting talked to. So is there someone that was like, who's particularly gets under your skin, or anybody else that you've had some good sort of toe-to-toe battles with it doesn't have to be from NBL, from any leagues that you played in?
Oh, I mean, yeah, so many times. Like,
I'm trying to get a specific story out of it. Okay?
somebody else where I've talked. Okay, we've talked trash and butted heads, huh? Man, nah. To be honest with you, I would say Gasper's probably at the top just because I played him so many times in a short span of years.
Yep.
And it was always,
Going.
like almost like how Westbrook and Lillard always play. Every time they play, like they gonna butt heads. Like,
yeah.
So I don't think I never had anything to that extent because me and him was probably the most consistent. But it was always fun playing against him because he was a hell of a player.
Yeah, most definitely. It's so good to watch. It just adds that little bit of action to the game every time as well. And then 2020, that championship there, that was the COVID championship year, which was just a nightmare, an absolute mess. So pretty much for anybody that doesn't know, the sort of lead up to that. Wildcats, Sydney Kings, top of the ladder. They're playing off the championship series. 2 games in, Wildcats are up 2-0. And you guys get told that Sydney Kings don't want to come back over and do the next game because they're worried about COVID. I think they were just worried about fucking losing 3-0, to be honest. But
no, it was 2-1. It was 2-1.
2-1.
But outside of 2019, that's probably up there as well. Like, it's probably my favorite just because I don't know what was going on in that locker room, but I know what we talked about, and like we tried to present a lot of scenarios from what I understand to where both teams could be happy to play.
Yeah.
And when they denied all the possibilities, I just felt like, it was my opinion, I felt like, okay, if you guys were up 2-1, I don't think you guys would be this reluctant. Yeah. So the fact that we didn't get to play game 4, we didn't get to play game 4 because the team forfeited, that's almost more gratifying, where it's like mentally you feel like, okay, this team knows like we probably got their number and they're going to use a circumstance to, okay, we don't feel safe anymore, we don't want to play for health reasons or whatever.
Yeah,
that almost felt more gratifying to me
because you got them. Yeah.
And again, because I'm sick, I had this thing with, like, just a competitive thing with Bogut. Like, I wasn't over the fact that he got that that MVP. I wanted it to be like, okay, yes, Bogut, you're probably, like, from start to finish, the best Australian player in Australian history and all this stuff. That's great. You've won NBA championships. It's amazing. But it's like, that would be cool. Like, if I could be a part of helping keep you from winning a championship in your home country.
Most definitely.
So it's like,
yeah.
Never won here. Like, you won NBA championships. Never won here. So it's like, that's my small little win, even though I know he doesn't care about it at all, I'm sure. But it was just always little things that I needed to try to keep me fueled and keep me going. Because those are I'm motivated by the dumbest things and nobody would guess.
Love it. Now, 2021, that series, that didn't obviously quite finish the way that the Wildcats would have wanted, and also yourself, you copped a really nasty injury in a game against, I think it was Brisbane.
Yep.
And that kind of led to you not being able to finish off the season where, the Wildcats were in the final and unfortunately lost that one. Tell us a little bit about that and how serious that injury was.
I mean, it was very serious, more serious, I guess, than we thought at the time. But it was so weird because I hurt myself, or got the corks against Brisbane. And we played again 2 days later. So, like, let's say it was a Wednesday game. Mm-hmm. We played again on a Friday against Cairns. My leg was still very sore. I played through it. I was fine. And then the next day, like, I'm just sitting down watching TV, and I feel this funny twinge in my leg, and I can't really move it. Anytime I try to move it, it just feels like a massive cramp, basically. And so I'm just letting it sit there, like, okay, it's going to go away, because I never stretch my cramps out. They hurt too much.
Yeah, totally.
And after like 30 minutes, I'm like, damn, I've never had a cramp this long. Like, what's going on? Extra. And so my wife gets home, and I'm telling her, like, yo, I've had this cramp in my leg for the last 30 minutes. And she tells me to stand up. She takes a picture of my leg, and it's basically double the size of my right leg. So I phoned our physio, and he was like, yeah, you should probably go into the hospital, just get somebody to take a look. They did some, I think, MRI scanning or whatever, or ultrasound, one of the two. And 5 minutes after like that was done, or walking back to the car to go back home, get a phone call like, yo, you need emergency surgery like now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm thinking like, okay, when in the week should we get it? They're like, no, like you need it as soon as possible. They're like, the longer you wait, you could have.
Perth or were you away?
I was in Perth.
Yeah.
They're like, you could have permanent damage, like, because they said my tissue was under so much pressure, it could just die off. So me and my wife looked at each other like, shit, like I guess this is a little bit more serious than we thought. So yeah, to go through that, it was very frustrating because we were going for the three-peat that year. We were having such an amazing year. I think we finished the regular season, I think, second on the ladder. So like, yeah, we were looking really, really good, and to not be able to be out there with the guys throughout the playoffs, like it definitely hurt. And it was tough too, because I lost well, I told you I got an older brother. I had another one as well. I lost my brother earlier that year, so that was a very personal year for me, just dealing with a lot of different stuff. So it just sucked that like didn't get to finish that year off, because I was like using that year as a dedication or a memory of him type thing. So yeah, it was very tough, but like I said, with life, you got to take the crickets with the straights, and I'd be a fool if I acted like it was the end of the world because I had a season-ending injury, even though I got to play 32 out of the 36 regular season games. But then, like, you look at the last 2 seasons we just had or whatever, it's like, shit, you haven't had it that bad. Like, you were going for a three-peat, you didn't get it, like, because you can't play or whatever. Poor you, get over it.
Yeah.
So I didn't let myself dwell on it too long, but I get stung at first, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about that. That's, tragic. I can imagine how even more difficult that would have made that whole period. And then the rehab of that would have been pretty extensive as well.
Yeah.
How did that go? And do you feel like, have you ever had any issues with it since? And it was all good?
Yeah, it was all good. So it was definitely a slow process getting there, because the swelling just wasn't going away in the beginning. But my biggest thing I wanted to do was, when I came back that following season, I didn't want to hear like, he did have that serious surgery, he doesn't quite look the same. So it was,
didn't want that asterisk.
So it was a big thing for me to prove to myself as well as to other people, like, I'm fine, this was just a little bump in the road.
Was it Matt Hodgson that gave you the knee as well?
So everybody
ended up
everybody thinks it was him, but it wasn't.
Everybody just dropping your knees.
He got me with a screen that game, but he wasn't the one that did it, and I made sure he know. He
knew.
The inner circle knows who did it, so I won't put it out there, but they know.
That's good. Well, obviously came back and absolutely tore everything to shreds, and that definitely didn't happen with asterisks on your name from how you're playing, which is great. So, just before we go over to a couple little specific examples, I want to know of some games or whatever, just memories that I've got. So one of the games that's just unbelievable is your 33 points against Denver.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was great because
was it good getting back over there and just being like. And putting those sort of numbers up, going, I can fucking beat these guys still,
It was all of that. Like, in the same way I told you, once I had that game versus the Mavericks, when I had 21 points in 25 minutes, and I knew, like, you know what? If I'm given a chance, no matter who I'm playing against, I can hold my own. So now I'm like, wow, I get to play against an NBA team, and I have the ultimate green light. Really get to see where I'm at, you know what I mean? And obviously, like, we didn't win the game or anything like that, but for me, that was just another reminder for myself. Like, yo, you just scored 30 on an NBA team, and I think they finished second in the West that year, and obviously they had great talent. They had Jamal Murray and all those guys, so it was just another reminder, like, yep, like, whenever you're given opportunity, you can hold your own. So now I never worry about, what player's playing here or where I'm playing. Like, I just know, like, look, you control where you're at, and as long as you're handling your business where you're at, that's all you can do. Your win is your win. Other people's wins is their wins. But I stay in my lane now, and I think it took years for me to be able to mature and look at life and look at my career from that standpoint. But now that I've been able to do that, I'm more at peace with my situation than ever before.
Have you got any aspirations, at all to get back to NBA? If someone like, messages at home, got a contract for you, would you do it or you don't know?
No, I would go for sure. Like if it's a guaranteed contract,
Have you had any since being the
go.
Wildcat? Surely if that's something come through.
I've had offers. I had a 10-day and all that. I forgot to even mention that. Yeah. So the year we won the championship, my first year, I was offered a 10-day by the Hawks, I think it was, to come out in February, and I was having so much joy, like love for the game again out here. I was like, I don't want to go out there for a 10-day and then just to be cut a week later when I have this amount of guaranteed money here. I'm playing the way I want to be used, and like we're doing so well. And the way it was like explained to me, it was like, because trade deadline was coming up, and they were like, look, if we don't get the guy we want in the trade deadline or whatever, we'll keep you for the rest of the year. But if we do get him, we'll release you after the 10-day. So I'm like, I'm not going to gamble on that. Like, I've already been in the NBA. I'm off the stigma of, hey, I'm in the NBA, because now I've been around the block a little bit to understand how stuff works. So I decided not to do it, and it worked out because whoever they wanted in the trade deadline, they got. So that would have meant I would have been cut. So, it's been a couple times I feel like I've had to make gutsy calls for myself where there's no real right or wrong. But just learning, like, you just got to stand by your decisions because you have to know why you're doing something or why you're not.
Yeah, most definitely. And one more example from the games. The amount of game winners and buzzer beaters that you hit are just ridiculous. There's literally just YouTube clips of just your buzzer beaters and just your game winner shots. It's pretty awesome. Is there one that you go, oh gee, that was not bad? That you watched a few times and you go, yeah, that was the one. Can't wait to show the kids this one day.
Yeah. Probably the one versus Brisbane in Perth. Yeah. Because
funny, you can see me the top of the screen as well.
You're in there as well. I'm seeing a common denominator. All right, there we go. I would say that one, man, because what I remember that probably nobody else does is we got fouled and we were up 2, and I missed both free throws. And Lamar comes down, scores the basket, ties it up. So in my mind, I'm like, if we lose this game, it's because you missed 2 damn free throws. Like, when do you ever do that?
I thought his free throws.
Yeah. So to come down probably those next 10 seconds and hit the shot to end the game, like, it was a relief more than it was exciting. But that one's probably top of the list for me.
Pretty awesome. And the year coming up for you, what are you working on? You working on anything different in the off season just now? Obviously you said you're going home for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do you have guys that you work out with at home or play basketball with when you're back home?
Yeah, so I got a guy that I work out with. I've been working out with him probably ever since 2016, I believe. Mm-hmm. His name's Jamal Rhodes. So,
and is he a fitness guy or a basketball guy?
Basketball, yeah. So I'm more like in my off season, everything's gonna be all basketball. Like I might do my push-ups, sit-ups, and.
So you're not in the gym much at all?
Not weight room wise, no.
Yeah, really.
I'll just do body weight stuff, and then everything is all on the court for me.
See.
And I'm a creature of habit, so basically, everything I do now, I've been doing the last probably 7 years or so.
That broke, don't fix it, just keep going.
Yeah, I'm superstitious to a fault almost.
Yeah, wicked. And what's sort of next for you for the next year coming up in terms of, do you have any, like projects or things like that you're working on? And what are you kind of taking into this upcoming season of the NBL?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with projects and all that stuff, I'm just going to be doing some regional camps when I get back from Arizona.
Right.
Going to be going down south, a couple up north as well. I know we got Geraldton, Bunbury,
sweet,
and some places like that. We'll be hitting Broome, some other places. So that's going to be cool. It's out of my comfort zone for me.
Totally. And you're coaching? You're running the clinics?
Yeah, I'll be doing it. Me and Damo will probably be doing it side by side. So
nice.
It'll be really
Damo do all the talking. And
who else to talk more than Damo? So yeah, we'll be doing that, and then obviously back during the COVID times, like me and my wife, we tried out like just making a little clothing line for fun. We didn't really have like we didn't view it too serious, but it actually turned out to be pretty good. We had some loyal customers. So we're gonna toy around and see if we can maybe find some stores to put some new clothing.
And what's the brand called?
C11.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna see if we can find some venues to put it in, and yeah, if we can make some more shirts or hats or whatever, that'd be cool. So those are probably the things lined up off the court.
Nice.
And then as far as like basketball, it's been 3 years I think now since we've been on the top of the mountain. So that's obviously the goal, and we're gonna try to do everything we can to rebuild and just get back to the Wildcats that we're used to being, and that the Wildcats, the fans are used to seeing as well.
Most definitely.
Got our work cut out for us, but we're gonna see how we go. But yeah, you always put the work in, and then you just see where the chips fall, basically.
Can't wait to watch it all from row F. It's going to be great. So
hopefully you'll be in a whole lot more pictures and some highlights.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, mate, thank you so much for coming and doing the podcast with me. Like I said, love you as an athlete, but love your backstory as well. Super generous with your time and coming down and doing this. And I hope you enjoy going back home for a few weeks. And yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll give you a real handshake.
There we go. I won a wet fish one that time. That's
there
awesome.
You go.
We got that on camera too.
Yeah, so it's official.